Hello, and welcome. I'm just making sure everything is properly prepared. And it does appear things are working. So, without further ado, let's get to it. You might have noticed we didn't have any of our standard things prepared. Specifically, things look ever so slightly different. Some things look the same, but some things look different. Not campaign-wise, not here on this screen, but, well, I suppose a bit here on this screen. As I posted about, we've had a bit of trouble with a Robots of the Coalition AI. It, well, hacked our systems and caused some problems. But we appear to have fixed that to a degree. We lost some settings. We didn't lose any data, but we lost settings, lots of settings for everything. So everything's a bit messed up. We're missing features. All sorts of things are not prepared. And there's things that need to be fixed. But that's just how it is. There's no way to undo that other than slowly fixing everything over time. So that's what we will do. Not here, of course. It's Worldbuilding Wednesday. We're going to talk about game design or something like that as soon as I triple check that things are working. Once more, as mentioned, it did cause errors in our systems, so I'm not entirely sure that things are working properly, as everything here in our broadcast center was absolutely reset. So things are different, settings are messed up, and yeah, over time we'll probably fix it all. But it'll be a long while before things are back to ideal settings. Anyway. There. That seems more? No. There. That's a bit better, I think. I'm not entirely sure. As I said, settings are all messed up. It's not ideal at all whatsoever. So let's just get right to it. What was it I wanted to cover today? That's not really a question. Hell, I remember. It's sort of rhetorical. It's just I was rambling about how everything was broken. So today it's Worldbuilding Wednesday, but we're going to cover some design aspects. We're going to ramble a little bit about design, as I have. That's what I've been working on. As I also posted about, we are working, and as I've mentioned before, we're working on a series of adventure modules that we will release. But of course, adventure modules require systems, and I kind of want to include a entire Galactic Requiem rule set with the adventure module. It's going to be system neutral, so theoretically you can run the adventures in any system, but I'm going to also include the way to run it in Galactic Requiem, specifically Galactic Requiem Light, Galactic Requiem Simple, the very trimmed down rules that basically are there so you can do anything Galactic Requiem related, but are simplified so you don't need a several thousand page rule book, which is what we have on our end. So, yeah, we're working on that. We added a bunch of new rules because I'm running a bunch of one-shots. in addition to all that. But a bunch of additional rules have been added, and that's what we're going to cover right here, right now. Opening my book real fast. So, of course, the simplified rules for Galactic Requiem are basically, I'm sure you've seen that, well, have we actually done that? There are classes in Galactic Requiem, not like learning classes, like character classes, which I'm sure I've rambled about how much I despise them. I'm not a fan of character classes, but there's no easy way to get rid of them. Really? Not anymore? I mean, I suppose there is. There is. There's a lot I hate about how we built Galactic Requiem, because it's based on D20 open gaming license stuff originally. Well, originally. The very first Galactic Requiem stuff was originally D100, based on Call of Cthulhu, originally. Not lore-wise, but system-wise, it used, like, what was it? Third, I think, edition Call of Cthulhu. It was one of those very, very, very early Call of Cthulhu editions, is what we used for the rule set for Galactic Requiem. But then eventually swapped it over to D20. Anyway, so there are things I like about D20, and there are things I hate about D20. Classes are one of the things I'm not a fan of. We have some custom classes that I quite enjoy, and there are parts of classes I'm not a fan of. There are parts of classes I'm fine with, parts of classes I'm not a fan of. But in short, there's a custom class. I'm pretty sure it's the class we use. We can actually double check that by bringing up our data sheet. Yes, bring up our data sheet. Luckily, we prepared our data sheet. Yep, as you can see, we are average NPC for our character Yulana. All this for our solo campaigns. Average NPC is a NPC class. We let players take it on occasion. But average NPC is a class that basically allows you to customize your class to do anything. It allows you to fully customize your class to do anything. There's only two things the average NPC can't do. There's two classes that have specialties that the average NPC doesn't have, I think. It might only be one. Let me check that, because now I'm genuinely curious about the rules in regards to that. I'm sorry. One would think I'd know this, but I don't. The problem with writing a book and taking from so many other things, but also making so many custom things, is when you have over a few thousand pages of rules, and I wish it wasn't, but that's truly the amount. We're at like a couple of thousand pages. I mean, not all of it's rules, to be honest. It's items and lore and specialty equipment rules, and here's all the parts of vehicles. It's not like we have over 1,000 pages of here's all the rules in regards to, you know, it's 1,000 pages of just over 1,000 pages of everything involved, you know? It's not the base rules. The base rules are simple. The base rules are like 500 pages. Only 200 of which, 250 of which are things that the player needs to know. Well, that's not entirely true. There's still bits that are work in progress. For instance, like, there are technically an additional, how many? Once it loads. Yeah, there are an additional 200 rules that are relatively important that I'm still finishing up. Those being, I mean, they're there. They're just not fully complete in a way I like releasing. Of course, if they become relevant, I do show them to my players. But for instance, vehicle rules, which I'm pretty sure are basically done, except for vehicle crafting. I say crafting, I mean like GM how to design vehicles, which aren't included in that. But all the little items and bits of that, the sub items of vehicles, the vehicle use rules are all set. The mech use rules are all set, and the starship use rules are all set. I just have them in a file I haven't released yet because they're part of the additional rules file. So I did make a separate available sheet that's specifically like, what is it called? Player additional file, which has those, but it's like a temporary file, not the additional and future based rules, which have the cybernetic and robotic rules, which work and exist but need tweaking. Specifically, the items list needs tweaking because while I can stat any item and all the items are there, the stats aren't entirely accurate, so I don't like releasing it because what if a player sees it and is like, oh, I want this enhancement, and I have to say, well, this enhancement actually does this because I haven't gotten around to typing out all 100 or more cybernetic attachments and the exact stats correctly. That's why I need to edit the stats, and it causes confusion. Same with biotech, nanotech, mutations, robotic design, all that stuff needs a bit of work before I finish it. The rules are all there, the rule sets. It's not like I think I explained this. The rules all need tweaking. I suppose cybernetics and robotics, not really cybernetics, there's just small minor tweaks, honestly. The rules are basically 100% usable. It's the item lists. It's almost always the item lists that are the problem, never the rules. Anyway, um, so basically, I went off on a tangent. Um, I'm supposed to be checking one of the classes. That's what I was here doing. Um, because I'm curious. But yeah, point is, there are a lot of rules. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Hmm. Doing a little bit of reading. Okay, there's one thing we can edit to make that possible. Um, let's do that just because it's not really listed anywhere when it should be. And effect applied. Grants. Grants. Hmm. One hack HP level to the character. There we go. Perfect. So now that we've noted that, it does change the statement, which is there's only one class that does things that I know of that the average NPC can't emulate, and that is the caster class. My apologies for that. I had to edit rules there. Yeah, the caster class, because the caster class is the only class that can cast. Well, that's not entirely true. Cast at tier 3 and 4, as opposed to only 1 and 2. And class 0. I mean, 0, 1, 2 for casting. For anybody can do that. 3 and 4, you must be caster class. 3 is a multi-class caster, and 4 is a somebody who only takes the caster class. The special ability of the average NPC is it can emulate any class. Except for the cast, of course, except, at full tier. Basically, the average NPC has the special ability to emulate the abilities of any other class, which is why we chose it for this character. So we could show you everything in regards to Galactic Requiem. But also, because it can basically, its special abilities, it can steal abilities, or it gets a bonus feat every level. It's a bit worse than some classes in some things. Like it's how do I put this? Its saves are lower, no matter how you customize it. Its saves will be lower, its defense will be lower. Its attack can be the same as the best attack, but if you make the attack best, you suffer on other benefits you could get, which is why its saves will always be lower, even if you're a combat class. But your attack can be maximized. Well, as good as, say, a strong hero. So I suppose multi-classing, you get some benefits for it, because if you can take specialty feats with it. So it has upsides and downsides. It gains a lot of skill points. It's very versatile. It's a bit worse at some things, but it's very versatile, which makes it in its own way a little bit better at things, to a degree. Not by any exceptional margin. But anyway, basically, the average NPC is what we're going to use as a basis for our quick Galactic Requiem stuff. Our one-shots and our adventure modules will basically just have one class, and that's the average NPC. And if you're wondering, well, isn't that very, like, what about customization? What about character customization? Well, that's just it. As I said, the average NPC is the most customizable class. It can have low attack or high attack. You specifically choose what save you want to be good. Do you have alt defense, which is slightly worse defense score, or full defense, which is a higher defense score? And that changes what saves, the maximum you can put in your saves, the fact that you can pick and choose the abilities from any class, so you can basically, it provides the most actual customization available. Like, it just has literally the most customization. So if you're wondering, like, isn't that one class as opposed to like the 20 classes there are? Well, in actuality, it itself is the most customizable and custom class that gives you the most options, strangely enough. Not really strangely enough, but it gives you the most options. I wonder, give me half a second. There are 6 base classes and 27 advanced classes. 6 base, 27 advanced. Technically, I think maybe 27 to 28. I did my math wrong. I just quickly counted. I'm not going to count again. But I don't think cast is listed here because I believe that's in the casting book. So about 27, 28 classes and 6 base classes. But given that you can take the abilities, like customization is there to these classes? Let's be honest. Classes have special abilities and differing base stat spreads. By stat spread, we mean, you know, saves, attack, defense, reputation. I believe that's the only differences between classes. Abilities, of course. Let's see. Base attack bonus, saves, fort, reflex, and will. Defense bonus, reputation bonus, the hit die, aka how much health you're going to get, and how many skill points you get. And then the class's special abilities. The abilities are emulated, can be emulated by the average NPC. So remove that from the thing. There's a bit, I suppose there's a bit less versatility in your base attack for the average NPC because there's two steps. You can either have good attack or not good attack, I believe. Let me double check that. Specialty classes, here we go. Yeah, there's attack, there's good attack and alternate attack. So there's 2 attack categories as opposed to like 3, 4, which doesn't really matter for like class customization. That just tells you how good you're going to hit. Does it greatly matter? Your saves have 3 tiers. There's good saves, medium saves, and bad saves. You get 1 good save and 2 medium save, 2 bad saves, 1 good save, or you get 1 alt save, which is a medium save, and you can increase your defense or your attack, or you can drop to all bad saves. And I suppose we could add a bit more customization in a sense. We could do a bit more. But if you know how I run games, you know that customization is in your character and how you play a character. Also where you put your skill points. It's less so, what's your attack? I don't consider how good you attack, really. I mean, you either are combat trained or you're not combat trained. I don't think there's a lot of necessarily fun in the difference of, oh yes, there's 4 different attack categories about how good you are. I don't feel that that's where the fun in it comes from, because that's not even your attack abilities. Let's be honest. We also have aiming, bracing, training with weapons. Are you trained with this weapon? And that all comes from feats. Whether you're trained in this type of thing. Do you have burst fire? Did you get that feat? Did you have this feat? Are you trained in doing this with your gun? That's where I think the combat training comes in. So, I don't think there's a need for 4 different tiers of, do you gain for your attacks, is your base attack bonus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 3? Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 3? Is it 0, 1, 1, 2, 2? Like, I don't think that matters for character customization. Like, sure, I suppose that represents less training, but why not just make that the feats that you're trained in for combat, I don't think that adds much to customization. Saves, yeah, one can say all these different save variants provide something, but we have good, medium, and bad saves. And whether you are good at combat or not good at combat affects whether you have what you can assign to those saves. And you get to pick which one you're good at and which ones you're bad at. Or if you're good at defense or bad at defense, as opposed to 4 different defense tiers. Like, I don't think that those options really matter for character customization as much as your feats and your skills and your actual how you play your character. Feats, skills are where are where, and character abilities, like class abilities, are where I count the actual, like, customization of a class, because it gives you all sorts of abilities and so forth. So, and the average NPC can take that. So the average NPC is the most customizable, but yeah, like, I suppose it cuts down on the choice of the 4 different attack categories, makes it 2, or the different save categories, or the reputation bonus. But we have our own reputation system in Galactic Requiem for fames, and whether you're famous or not, and whether you can take talents that increase your reputation. Not talents, but like feats that increase your reputation. And as the GM, you can give players more reputation. So, like, you know, it's it's not really the amount of class choice that represents your character customization. When the average NPC can do it all. I say do it all. When I say do it all, do understand, I mean the average NPC has the option of doing it all. Picking the average NPC doesn't make you innately good at everything. You have to pick what you're good at. Do you have these talents or these talents? Do you take this from these classes, or you don't get the ability to do it all innately. You just have the option of doing it, which is why it's customizable. So I really believe that's where it comes in. Um, so yeah, in simple GR, the only class we're going to provide is the average NPC, basically. Because it cuts down on work. Not necessarily for me. Look, wanted, if I wanted, the work's already done, you know? I could just copy the class list into the book, into the adventure sheet. I could just copy the class list in, you know? And that, like, it's not work for me. It's work for the players, not players, but, like, I say work for, like, anybody who gets the adventure module that's not really needed when the average NPC class is there, you know? It just complicates things for a simple and it complicates things for a simple, easy to run, system neutral adventure module. You know, you're supposed to be able to run my adventure modules in any system, but I'm providing the option to run it using Galactic Requiem Lite. And don't get me wrong, I say Galactic Requiem Lite if you also know about how I do things. You know that when I say Galactic Requiem Lite, it does not mean we're getting rid of any options. We're not getting rid of what makes Galactic Requiem Galactic Requiem. I would never do that. I'm just cutting down on my obsessive need for accuracy and detail. My obsessive need for it. For instance, here's the difficulty class chart for the adventure, you know? Here's difficulty classes. This should be this difficulty. If you want to shoot through a wall, do this. But not like my obsessive, the DR of this very specific thing under this very specific situation under this must roll this to achieve this, which does this, this, and this with this, this, and this, and this modifier. Just things that are not really needed. You don't need a 10 million page explanation on the every possible circumstance for shooting through a wall in this adventure module. Here's the basics of how to shoot through a wall. You don't need every possible situation modifier. Here's a few of the major modifiers, like if you're shooting through glass as opposed to shooting through a wall itself. Here's the DR tiers. We're not going to get into the very specifics of every possible thing that could possibly happen. I'm sure you as a GM are smart enough to understand and improvise enough to make it work, you know? which is another thing I encourage. I, of course, believe that the following of Galactic Requiem rules in Galactic Requiem is needed. Not necessarily entirely needed, but like, let me put it this way. I know the rules for Galactic Requiem. I know when to break them, and I consider breaking the rules, knowing when I am to break my own rules, works, because I designed the system. I know when the rules are inaccurate and when they are accurate. I know when to break them and when they should be absolutely followed. But I believe that if you're using a pre-used system, for instance, let's say you just grab Dungeons and Dragons. As a GM, you should know when to improvise and when to break rules. You should improvise and break rules at certain times. The rules are there as a guide to running a game. They're not some sort of universal codex that must be followed at all times under all circumstances. You know? So, I added a bunch of systems. That's what we're finally getting to. I added a bunch of systems, such as, specifically, I decided to run a bunch of one-shots. And when deciding to run these one-shots, I came up with a few fun little systems. For instance, just because these one-shots are very quick, usually Galactic Requiem character generation takes a long time, but I use the simplified system. But basically, where's the fun things? Here we are. Basically a fun little skill specialty system, which basically just takes some feats that we're not going to use in the one-shot. And basically it's, you may re-roll skill checks 3 times an in-game day and or doing this mission, that of your chosen specialty skill. In addition, treat all action dice affecting that skill as d10s instead of d4s. And a combat specialty, you may use your action dice as d6s on the chosen combat specialty as opposed to only d4s. Stuff like that, little bonuses like that, which are just fun little things for the one shot, but also nice little systems. So there is a feat chain that actually does the treat, reroll 3 times a day, and crit higher. There's a feat chain that does that. But since we're not using it in the one shot, I just thought I'd steal that little ability and slap it in as the player's chosen skill specialty. And the using action dice higher, just thought that'd be neat for like your specialty because it's more simple. The one-shot system is even simpler than the system I'm going to provide for basically our adventure modules. The one-shot system is consider the adventure module system a step above the one-shot system. The one-shot system is even more simplified, like to an exceptional degree. I mean, it still has all the choice and customization and stuff like that, but it's specifically the one we're doing is a far more lethal one-shot. It's a combat-oriented, lethal one-shot in which I expect the players to have multiple characters. So we're basically cutting down a lot of the stuff because a lot of it won't be necessary for it. And if we're going to be making like several characters and having to maybe make characters mid-match, hopefully have some prepared beforehand, but who knows how many characters we'll burn through. So basically made it so it's just far faster, even more so than our one-shot, our adventure module system. But I like these ideas that I came up with it for it, of like increasing your action die for skills you're good at. I kind of like that. But we also, while working on that, in addition, we had a problem in our last session. Not really a big problem, but a problem that just won't leave my mind. And it wasn't involving the players or anything like that. The dice roller we used genuinely decided not to roll above 6 for like 90% of the rolls in that session. Did not roll above 6. An enemy in the middle of a combat encounter, mind you. In the middle of a combat encounter, absolutely none of the rolls decided to roll above 6. You can imagine how that went. A simple enemy that was supposed to be parity with the party. Parity with one of the party, mind you. When I say that, I mean like this enemy was equivalent to one party member. There were multiple party members there. It should have been doable quite easily. If they could roll above 6, they would have avoided taking like 4 attacks. But basically, due to that unfortunate incident and the working on a additional thing, I came up with a few additional systems. Where are they? Here we are. Basically, we added a special advantage system and situational advantage system, which I mean already was there, but we just added a bit more, like a separate one with a bit more flavor and fun to it. And special advantages are dangerous because so if the dice are ever just absolutely ruining your day, just like ruining your day, there's special advantages. What do? Well, you can pick a special advantage. And when you pick a special advantage, you gain a stored penalty. And what that means is basically special advantages are big. They're adding quite a bit to a roll, re-rolling, pushing a roll, forcing a success on a check, stuff like that. Big special advantages. And every time you do them, you gain penalties. These penalties are stored, and they can't be used immediately. Sorry, something popped up. Not like I have to go anywhere. A little display popped up. Basically, in short, I mean, we're not cutting it short, but we're definitely not cutting it short. More so, this is me just simplifying the explanation. You can store up to 6 penalties. Each special advantage has a different cost. If you get to 6 penalty points, basically, things go direly wrong. A minimum of 2 rounds, but a maximum of several scenes later, these penalties will and must be used by the GM. And it is used at the highest amount of penalty points you have. So if you have 2 penalty points, it can't be used as, oh, you're going to take a penalty that costs 1 penalty point. It has to be one of the penalties that costs 2 penalty points. And you can also spend a special advantage to delay the inevitable. It's literally just called delay the inevitable, which counts as, I believe, doubling the cost, doubling the you take one more penalty point, and then it increases the amount of time by like 4 scenes. Let me double check it. Here we are. Just doing a little bit of editing. Basically, anytime you spend a special advantage, you delay the penalties from happening for 2 rounds. If you use delay the inevitable, it increases it by more. And basically, but these gain you penalties, and penalties, as stated, must be spent at the highest amount. And if you ever get to 6, things come crashing down. Penalties are like re-roll and take the lowest result, minus 1d12 from a future roll, and like just things that make your situation worse. But at the time, like re-roll a dice roll, roll 2d20, take the highest, force a success on a check. High benefits, but if you ever get to 6, basically things come crashing down, the situation worsens, you're going to take a D4 penalty on everything for the scene, and 6 checks are going to be at like minus 1d12. Like, if you ever get to 6 penalty points and the cost gets applied, things are going wrong. But like, it basically lets you delay horrible things happening. But so, like, it's not bad to use because you use one. Let's say you use 1 penalty, 1 special advantage. That's cheap. You gain 1 penalty. So somewhere 2 turns later, but a maximum of 2 scenes later. So anywhere from 2 turns to basically like several encounters, something that occurs will have a minus 1d12 applied to it. And that is up to the GM. You don't get to choose what has it. It has to basically be something that makes your life significantly harder. But it does lightly let you sort of pass off the dice being terrible to you for a more story. You basically go, so the dice have ruined my day, or I've done well, but I want to do better. You're basically fixing that situation for a delayed cost that is more a story-related penalty instead of just the dice messing you up. Which I think is a nice, fair little thing, because you don't always want to use it. Let me put it this way. The penalties are debatably, they're not absolutely terrible at lower tier, but they get more terrible the higher they get. But, I mean, missing an attack? Do you really want to exchange a minus 1d12 on an important roll for a slight bonus on an attack? Probably not. I mean, that it doesn't guarantee you'll succeed the attack. It's that one, like a 1 point doesn't guarantee you'll succeed. That's a bonus on a thing, you know? But like, if you wanted to just automatically succeed attack, let's see. 4 penalties. You would gain 4 penalty points, and they must all be spent. Remember, the maximum is 6. If you get to 6, things come crashing down. Things just come crashing down when you get to 6. So 4 for automatically succeeding attack, and that's going to be a tier 4 penalty spent. So things are going to go, you're going to have a really hard time if you go, yeah, I just want to succeed this attack. In the future, your life is going to be very difficult. 2 turns to 2 scenes later, your life is going to be exceptionally difficult in a more story-oriented way as opposed to the dice messing you up. Or, hey, you wanted the benefit of just getting an attack? Cool. I mean, I guess you can use it because you wanted the benefit of just ensuring you hit this attack. But there will be a cost later, more story-oriented than just... But there'll be a cost. I say story-oriented. The penalties are not only story-oriented, but also penalty on a dice roll, but chosen by the GM, so it's more story-relevant. Like, the computer you go to use locks you out because there's a penalty to your, but basically, fun little thing like that. Which I suppose, I mean, I get a little worried about the amount of systems we have. Shockingly, I finally arrived there. It only took several thousand pages, but we're finally at the point where I am worried about the amount of systems. I mean, they're all optional for the most part. But, where is it? To be fair, it didn't start here. The moment I started getting worried, let's put it this way. So we added favor, which is usually meant for the bot, to be used in any campaign. Normally, favor's not, I never counted it towards systems that we have because it's only used to only ever be related to the bot, but now you can use it in a normal campaign. So that's one more thing. And then we just added this new thing, which is another thing. And we have ties, but that's more with dealing with other characters. But it's another system. And we got where is it? Strain, which is another system. Like I said, most of them are optional. They're mostly just options for the GM, honestly. Like, I can choose to not award favor points. We can skip the heroic rune system. We don't need to apply the benefits, special ability, special actions, and penalties. We don't need to use those. They're more options. What the? Sorry, this thing keeps popping up. Okay. Sorry about that. Something was popping up repeatedly that I did not understand, and I still don't understand. I'll look at it after all of this. So, bunch new systems. Some of them are still work in progress. Others, not so much. I think I went over this before. What does that say? Not any notifications, just rules-wise. There's something I want to double check. So, stats-wise, there's one stat that's always annoyed me. Not really annoyed me, but I've always believed needs bigger benefit. And that is charisma. I mean, I did add a benefit to charisma, but I'm always still considering adding more. Because, let me explain. Let me explain what my thinking. Strength, melee damage, melee to hit, which is, I mean, weird that strength affects your melee to hit, but it's part of the ingrained system. I mean, I suppose I could work on changing that. I mean, there's certain martial arts in the game that you can take to change that. Dex is range to hit, your ability to dodge AC, and reflex saves. Your constitution is your health and fortitude saves. Your int is your skill point bonus, and it's used on so many skills. For any knowledge check is with int. Wisdom is your sanity, will saves, and your ability to perceive. Charisma is your skills. It's just used on a few, not a few, but like relatively less than the majority. It's used on talking with other skills. That's it. That's what the base charisma does in most games. Wow. So useful. So we've added an ability, force of personality. Basically, as a free action, number of days equal to your charisma modifier, you may improve or worsen a target's disposition towards you by 1 grade for the duration of the current scene. You can't target one character any more than once per scene, or improve a target's disposition towards you more than supportive. So it does allow you to have, if you have a positive charisma bonus, automatically influence a person to your charm a little bit better automatically. But I think it needs more. But I'm not quite sure. I mean, dealing with the world is important, don't get me wrong. Exceptionally so. Would it do? Okay. So, yeah, it's important for dealing with the world, but the benefit you gain is what? Why would you? I mean, yeah, I want to be good at talking. Sure, good for you. You're getting a plus up to 4, getting a +4 on your skill. Congratulations. Like, sure. I just don't think that that's good. I mean, to be fair, often when we've rolled in our solo campaign, I've had to apply a -1 because of our charisma. I believe. Yep. The reason our charisma's low is, I suppose, because I've always personally considered charisma a dump stat. Because it has. Well, I consider it a dump stat personally. Because, I mean, yes, I love interacting with the world and talking to people. in the game. But why would I need more than a 10 in charisma? I mean, having a 8 in charisma hurts, but 10 is like average. So why would I need more than average charisma? 10's average. I'm talking like a normal person, you know? Why would I need more? Yulian Aldous is 8. She's a bit abrasive. She's not the easiest to get along with. Why would I need more? You get what I'm saying? Ideally, hopefully you do. There's, yes, I mean, it's not like, let's be honest, it's not like I'm trying to min-max or anything. I wouldn't, but let's be honest. There's no, I mean, if you have 10, that's average for your character. That's an average person's charisma. There are times, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a few abilities and feats that make it matter. For instance, leadership. There's certain leadership feats that increase your bonuses on certain roles with charisma under officer trees and command. And I suppose there are some really neat abilities under. Don't get me. This is my point. There are neat abilities under the charismatic hero. There are neat abilities under the charismatic classes. These classes have neat abilities. So there's a reason to play a charismatic hero. There is. But all of their abilities tie to their class level. I don't think that any innately tie to their skill. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying that that's bad. There are some leadership ones that add or use your flat charismatic score. So that's, I suppose, a reason to have a charismatic score, because you add your score to some modifiers. That's nice. But that's a benefit, yeah. Compare that to other main stats that also have things like that, but also have other abilities for their stats. It's lacking. You get what I'm saying? It's lacking. And I don't know how to fix it. I mean, I could. Now that I'm thinking about it. That's the great thing about designing your own game. Finding answers and solutions to things. So you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to boost charismatic again. Because I believe it needs more of a benefit. I mean, what happened? What happened was I upgraded it with the ability that I mentioned, the ability to automatically make people more, like, improve their thing, a time of day is equal to your modifier. I added that and then said to myself, I've solved the problem. It is better now. And that's half right. I have made charisma more useful by doing that. That has made charisma more useful. Has it made charisma worthwhile? That's what I didn't really answer when I did that. I added it, said this made charisma better because it did make charisma better, but did it make charisma worthwhile, also known as on par with the other stats? And that I don't think it did, now that I think about it. Now that I think about it, I don't think it did. I mean, a plus up to 4, I mean, you can get your stat higher than +4, but like at character creation, like the best you can get is 4 before level upgrades. But like a maximum of +4 an average of +2 to +3 in charisma does make a difference on skill checks. It's like what, 15 up to 15, 20% increase in success chance, percentile wise. It is not a minor thing, but it's just compared to other ones that have more ability, you know? Hmm. Does it tie in with contacts? Ooh, if I didn't already, that's a great solution. That is a great solution. Hmm, is it though? That provides its own problems. Hmm. I am going to make a quick note. Here we go. Ooh. There's two options for contacts of how we can do that. Charisma modifier can affect both the amount of contacts you start with and automatically permanently have, and we can also make it increase the speed in which contacts respond and the speed in which they respond. I'd have to figure out the numbers of that, but that is a good thing for it to do. Contacts are things characters have that basically, your contacts are people you can call on that give you benefit. If you're charismatic, you're probably dealing with people, so you should have the ability to have higher contacts or something like that. Not higher. I mean, technically anybody can have infinite contacts, but that's why I'm thinking maybe it should affect the speed in which contacts respond. Because anybody can have contacts. There's no limit to the amount of contacts you have. But also having like a minimum contacts is nice. Hmm. I need something still better, though. Something more. Hmm. Sorry for my working on this. I've just realized that it should be worked on, is all. Hmm. We could just give them boosts to an amount of rolls, honestly. That seems like the both a good rules-wise and easy rules-wise. I say easy. I don't mean easy like we're trying to do this quickly. I mean, of course, I don't want to force you to watch me think, but I mean easy as in like it's not going to be hard to implement. And I'm not doing this only because it's not hard to implement. I mean, it's actually a very good idea to give them a number of D4s a day to spend on charismatic things, sort of like action dice, but a number of D4s a day to spend on charismatic things, basically. Skill checks and stuff like that. That seems balanced. That is going to drive me insane. There we go. So I think, yeah, we'll go with... Now I'm worried about another thing that I just realized. Welcome to game design. You solve one problem and think of another. Which is two of the classes. Two of the classes need fixing now. Not what we did, but we didn't mess up the classes at all whatsoever. I just realized when I was talking about it, the class abilities that we added to two of the classes that basically say you gain more contacts than average might be a little bit, might need a little bit of a boost, maybe, because anybody can gain contacts. So maybe we make one modification to this class. Let me double check one other thing I need. Before I edit that, I suppose I need to see what the exact... Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I can go to this book to find it. Nope, not this book, this book. Nope, not this book. This book, thank you. Okay, so that means... Every point, you take an additional amount of time equal to the summon time. Modify affects the speed at which comments respond. Have to figure out how to stat that out. I have to make a note here. We're going to edit those two classes to give their contact abilities a little bit more. Because they could use it. Suggest. Ooh. That is a way we can go about it. We can give a bonus on their contacts. There we are. Those two classes now have a bonus with their contacts, which is going to be their benefit in relation. That makes it better than just simply having contacts normally. They will get an automatic higher bonus of like 2 on those contacts. Okay. That makes that a bit more useful. What did I note on this class? Yeah. Okay. So we've updated that. I'm thinking we're going to not give the charisma modifier affecting the amount of contacts you start with. Maybe. No. It's not like it's a bad bonus. It's not like it messes anything up. I suppose it's just ever so slightly more complex. Not really, though, given that as a character can gain as many contacts as they want. So yeah, no, we'll keep that. The amount of contacts you start with and automatically permanently have, the speed in which your contacts respond, and a number of plus 1d4s on the charismatic skills, skill rolls that basically equal to your charismatic bonus. Number of d4s a day. Or is that too much? Is that too much? That does feel like maybe slightly too much. Yeah, you're already getting a bonus to dealing with people by a rank. Yeah, no, we're not going to add that one. We're just going to give them a, because that's the more generic dealing with people bonus. Get that a number of times a day, so no need to add two number of times a day bonuses to charismatic things. Besides just what action dice are for. Adding a modifier as what's the word we use for this? Tier. No, we call that rank. Rank is made of great disposition of resources. Modifier as rank increase. Charisma modifier is the speed which contacts respond. By how much, though? That's where things get a little annoying in calculation. Because I gotta figure that out. Every point you fail increases to there. Speed in which contacts respond. Charisma modifier affects the amount of speed in which contacts respond by one time unit if at the minimum if at the minimum divide. Why not? If at the minimum divide. Perfect. So we're basically improving the ability to deal with contacts, which seems fitting, given that they already have a little bit of a bonus in regards to Adding your charisma modifier as number or rank increase. There we go. So now there's more of a benefit that's not exceptionally vast or more overpowered than anything else for charisma, as basically you now have a higher minimum number of contacts that you will basically always have, unless you go out of your way to burn them, and you can contact them faster. There. That is more in line with the slight, because having additional d4s is a bit powerful, given the fact that other ones are more like you get a bonus to damage or bonus to hit. It affects multiple things. This makes it at least affect multiple things, increasing grade and dealing with contacts, which is just a little bit better like than it was before, but enough that it actually is now on par. Adding d4s was indeed a bit too high, given that you're already increasing the amount by at least one. Like if you use your ability, you're increasing somebody's suspicion to you by 1 grade, which is going to be, I believe, a +1. No, it's actually more than a +1. If they're neutral with you, it becomes a +1 modifier. If they're intrigued, that's a +1 because it goes to friendly, which is +2. If you're going from friendly to supportive, that's a... I believe you can't raise them higher than friendly, though. Let's double check. Better than supportive. So you could get a +2. If they're friendly towards you, you could get the +2, bringing them to supportive. If they're not happy with you, you're getting a +2 from going from hostile to unfriendly, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, it's more than a +1 depending on their view towards you. And you can do that up to 4 times. Well, up to an amount of times equal to your charisma modifier, which is far more fair. In addition, we've added the ability to have more minimum contacts and your contacts responding faster, which I believe, given that, well, that should be better. That makes charisma better now that they have the ability to affect contacts a bit more, which makes sense. Because we're already adding the charisma modifier to charisma checks. So adding an additional modifier to that would be a bit silly. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay, that was a little bit of game design. So yeah, new systems like are being added. We're still working on things. The other stuff is also being worked on, specifically our adventure paths and that kind of thing. Um, Slowly but surely, we make progress on a lot of things. Not really the most world building of world building streams, but I think we'll call it there. I'm gonna go get coffee, and I am going to work on more Galactic Requiem work. Next time is Solo Sunday, which is on Friday, but you know, I can no longer point to the calendar because the system's authority corrupted. Oh, not the system's authority, the Robots of Coalition. The Robots of Coalition were part of the system's authority for a while. They might still be assisting them. I think they stopped to a degree. I think they still sort of assist them. But yes, the Robots of the Coalition hacked our systems and ruined our calendar display. Don't worry, the calendar still exists, and we can still track it perfectly. It's just not displayed in the corner anymore, which we need to fix. There's a lot of settings we need to fix. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. As always, I've been your host, Casimir Basilius. Next time we will build We'll try and do more accurate world building. Next time is going to be on Friday. We're going to do our solo TTRPG. We might do more armor on Saturday. Thank you all for stopping by. And I hope that you, yes, you, have a wonderful day. You know, unless you're against the Empire. In that case, still have a wonderful day, I suppose. But, we're watching. Thank you. We're watching. Have a wonderful day as the conscripts tell you the error of your ways.